Ah, my beloved Dune books. What I wouldn't give to live in the Dune universe. To study the ways of the Bene Gesserit. To know the taste of melange. I'll just ignore that. Kuwahat. Oh, well, I guess it is time. Goodbye for now, Dune Universe. I'll be back.
Hey guys, it's been a couple of weeks since my last Dune video, so it's time for me to do a roundup video on all the news that has come out since. First off, director Denis Villeneuve has come out and said some pretty interesting things about the upcoming film. We've gotten multiple images of characters from the film, but there is one character that we've still all been kind of inkling to see that we haven't gotten a single glimpse of yet. And that character is, of course, Shai Hulud, the great worm of the desert. In an interview with Empire magazine, Villeneuve gave details about the design of the legendary worms of Arrakis, noting that they took a year to design the look of it. We talked about every little detail that would make such a beast possible, from the texture of the skin to the way the mouth opens to the system to eat its food in the sand. Villeneuve said to Empire it was a year of work to design and find the perfect shape that looked prehistoric enough. Firstly, hearing that they took a year to design the worm really makes me happy. It really shows that they care about what they are doing enough to make sure that it's right. I love that they considered how the creature would actually operate if it were actually to exist, and allowed that to inform the design of it. Frank Herbert does do some describing of the worms at several times in the series, and I'll list a few of those examples. This is one from the first book. Then they saw it. A wide hole emerged from the sand. Sunlight flashed from glistening white spokes within it. The hole's diameter was at least twice the length of the crawler, Paul estimated. He watched as the machine slid into that opening in a billow of dust and sand. The hole pulled back. Here Frank Herbert describes an enormous creature capable of swallowing an entire spice crawler whole. He describes countless glistening white teeth lining the hole that is the creature's mouth. This next passage here is also from the book Dune. Instead of frightening him, the sensation of time darkness forced a hyper-acceleration of his other senses. He found himself registering every available aspect of the thing that lifted from the sand there seeking him. Its mouth was some 80 meters in diameter, crystal teeth with the curved shape of crysknives glinting around the rim, the bellows breath of cinnamon, subtle aldehydes, acids. Small spoiler alert, though it's been like 60 years since Dune came out. The biological functions of the worms are inextricably linked to the substance known as the spice melange. That is why Paul can smell cinnamon wafting off of the creature. The books also reference an internal furnace. The worms seem to produce an immense amount of heat as a byproduct of their biological processes. Here's an awesome quote from the book Heretics of Dune, which refers to the worm's inner furnace. The tubular surface fence of the Qanat lay no more than 50 meters in front of its gaping mouth. She smelled the hot cinnamon exhalations, heard the deep rumblings of Shaitan's interior furnace. So the worms of the desert are quite monstrous and terrifying, not to mention huge. Side note, this isn't a lore video, but since we were talking about how terrifying the worms are, I thought I would take a bit of time to consider Frank Herbert's sandworms thematically. When we are first introduced to the sandworms, they are exalted, gods to the Fremen. They called the worms Shai Hulud, which meant something like Old Father Eternity, Old Man of the Desert, or Grandfather of the Desert. But I personally suspect that the reason Frank Herbert named this creature Shai Hulud was because of what he intended to do 4 books later. Keep in mind, Herbert spent 6 years planning before he wrote a single word of Dune. The series has to be considered as a whole. So as I said, the worms are considered the gods of the desert initially. But as thousands of years pass and human society continues to evolve, the worms are eventually viewed quite differently by the people of the desert. By the book Heretics of Dune, the worms of the desert have gone from being considered gods to being considered devils. And the people of the desert call him by the name Shaitan. Now Shaitan, unlike Shai Hulud, is an actual real word, which literally means Satan. This is absolutely intentional, and that's not all. Heretics of Dune greatly expands upon the themes involving the worms of the desert, with quite the hellish reference, I should say. Check out this passage. As it stopped, Odrade became conscious of the deep furnace rumbling of the worm. She could not tear her gaze away from the reflection of lambent orange flames within the creature. It was a cave of mysterious fire. Before I get to the real point, one cool thing about this description is that it describes a glowing furnace inside the worm. We've never really seen that in any adaptation, and I personally think that it is an interesting aesthetic feature of the worms. I mean, can you imagine how good that would look in a scene that took place at night? It would be horrifying. But that's obviously not what's actually important here. I believe that Frank Herbert describes the creature's mouth as a cave of mysterious fire because he is attempting to evoke images of a hellish inferno. The image of a cave calls forth images from the opening of Dante's Divine Comedy, where Dante stands before the entrance to hell, and written above the entrance are the words, "Abandon all hope, all who enter here." If you don't know, the Divine Comedy, which was completed by Dante in 1320, details a man's journey through hell, where he eventually crawls up the body of Satan in order to enter limbo and finally ascends to heaven after climbing up stone steps of the mountain of purgatory. In paradise, he glimpses God and is met with an understanding that he cannot express. And in that moment, he understands God and the divinity of Christ, and his soul is aligned with God's. In the scene in Heretics of Dune where Odrade sees Shaitan's cave of mysterious fire, she too is beginning a journey. And though she senses great danger, she, like Dante, is resigned to whatever fate he will face. She enters the cave of mysterious fire, climbs on the back of Shaitan, who leads her to a literal cave, where she then climbs up rock stairs, just as Dante climbed up the rock stairs of the Mountain of Purgatory in the Purgatorio section of the Divine Comedy, and then she has a conversation with God, discovering a message left for her by the God Emperor Leto II, and ultimately she aligns with his purpose. Odrade climbed past the questions, reading them a second time as she went. Noble purpose. What a fragile thing that always was, and how easily distorted, but the power was there immersed in constant peril. It was all spelled out on the walls and stairs of that chamber. Taraza knew without having it explained. The tyrant's meaning was clear. Join me. The soul of the Bene Gesserit is aligned with God's, just as Dante's soul is aligned with God's. Frank Herbert even goes so far as to use the word soul specifically when referring to the Bene Gesserit. To you I give the certainty that the body and soul of the Bene Gesserit will meet the same fate as all other bodies and all other souls. Frank Herbert is definitely referencing the Divine Comedy here in my opinion, and the worm itself is both God and the devil. Not only has Frank Herbert created his own version of the Divine Comedy, he is showing us how religions and beliefs and myths evolve over thousands of years. The gods of the past are the devils of the future, and this has been a consistent fact throughout all of human history. During the rise of Christianity, countless pagan gods and symbols were demonized and became associated with malignancy and evil. Shai Hulud became Shaitan. God became the devil. Alright kids, that's enough class for today. Back to business. I'm excited to see what Villeneuve's interpretation of the Arrakis sandworm looks like. Hopefully he can capture the grand magnificence of the creature. Denis Villeneuve also compared Paul to Michael Corleone from The Godfather when speaking to Empire magazine. Paul has been raised in a very strict environment with a lot of training because he is the son of a duke, and one day he's training to be the duke, Villeneuve tells Empire. But as much as he's been prepared and trained for that role, is it really what he dreams to be? That's the contradiction of that character. It's like Michael Corleone from The Godfather. It's someone that has a very tragic fate, and he will become something that he was not wishing to become. Come on, guys, this dude gets it. He understands what Jodorowsky did not get. He understands what David Lynch did not get. Paul Atreides is not the hero of the Dune saga, which you've heard me say 1,000 times on this channel. Definitely check out this video right here of me explaining exactly why it is the case that Paul is not the hero of Dune if you don't know about that. Like I said countless times, I don't think there's a better person for this film than Villeneuve. He understands what's going on here. Next up, here's a bit of kind of shady business. So several days ago, Warner Media Group accidentally, I guess, leaked a synopsis for the upcoming HBO Max show, Dune The Sisterhood. The page has now been taken down, but I do have a screenshot of what the synopsis said. An adaptation of Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson's book based in the world created by Frank Herbert's Dune. Dune The Sisterhood explores this universe through the eyes of the mysterious order of women, the Bene Gesserit, whose extraordinary, mysterious mastery of body and mind allows them to expertly weave through the feudal politics and intrigue of the Imperium. So it is confirmed here that this new show is actually based on Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson's book, The Sisterhood of Dune, and not necessarily based on the lore bits found in Frank Herbert's original 6 Dune books. And as you all are probably aware of, there are some differences. Now, I know that a lot of people are immediately turned off by this, and they've expressed as much on Reddit and on various Dune groups on the internet. All I can say is I won't judge anything until I see it, but I wish them the best of luck. Although I will say that it is kind of weird that they took the page down. It's almost like they're trying to hide the fact that it's based off of Brian Herbert's books, and if they're doing that, then that's super weird. Okay, next. There was also a cool image of Paul that came out a couple of weeks ago, and I think it looks awesome. The carvings on the wall, the decor in the room is really appealing to me. This doesn't look at all like generic science fiction, so that is awesome. And also there's the technological looking thing on Paul's left hand. I'm almost certain that this is a shield generator. Now, shields in the Dune universe play a pretty significant role. Shield tech makes conventional weapons pretty much useless, and the effect of laser guns on shields is nuclear, so that is avoided at all cost. So instead of guns, the people of the Dune universe often fight with blades. Paul is actually seen holding a dagger here, as you can see, and when a dagger is used with proper technique, it can actually penetrate the Holtzman's shield. So this particular image, if I had to guess, it's probably from the scene in which Paul Atreides is training with Gurney Halleck in the beginning of Dune. Alright, so that's all I have for you guys right now. If you want to support this channel, make sure you like and subscribe. You can also support this channel by donating to my PayPal, link in the description, or pledging on Patreon, and also clicking the join button right below this video. And on a side note, where is the Dune trailer? We need it right now. Hashtag release the Dune trailer. I am so excited for this trailer. And I do not get excited for trailers in general, but I'm excited for this one. I don't even watch trailers typically for something that I'm super interested in, but I really, really want to see this one because I know there's going to be so much in it that just gives us a peek into Denis Villeneuve's vision for the world. And of course, I want to see the sandworm. Who am I kidding? I want to see the sandworm. That's the reason that I'm excited. I cannot wait to see what the beast looks like. I cannot wait to see the scale of the desert. There's so many reasons to be excited for this. I've got 3 hardcover copies of the same fucking book, all right? Release the goddamn trailer. This is not a joke to me. Release the trailer. We need it now. I need it now. Do it. Come on, Legendary. Get with it. Get with it. Can I be real with you guys for 1 second? In all seriousness, I am worried about the movie still being postponed. It doesn't look like this whole pandemic mess isn't gonna be resolved by then, so the movie might not come out until 2021. It really might not, and God, I really hope that's not the case, but it might be what they have to do because people still might not be ready to go into a crowded theater by the time December hits. it's still not certain. So there's a lot of reasons why the trailer could be being held back. So I guess we'll see.